This is a quick video talking about configuring FunnelFLARE to talk to your CRM. This is part 2 in a series of CRM integration videos. Part 1 was talking about how to get data from your CRM into FunnelFLARE. This video is going to be talking about moving data from FunnelFLARE into your CRM or updating your CRM when things are going on in FunnelFLARE. As in the first video, we use Salesforce as an example, but the reality is it doesn't matter what CRM you have, the process is very similar. So scenarios where you'll want to get data to your CRM are, for example, if you're doing a power dialer session and you're changing your contacts, you want those changes to be reflected into your CRM. Another scenario might be that you're trying to get scenarios like email opens or update the CRM when the prospect is fallen out of a drip sequence, or maybe they've downloaded an asset, or any of these types of things. You want to try to get this data that FunnelFLARE knows about. You want to move that data into the CRM. So the workhorse for moving data into your CRM from FunnelFLARE is the CRM activity posting workflow. So this can be found in automation, lead processing, and depending on what CRM you have, when you've done the integration and connected to the CRM to FunnelFLARE, this workflow will be exposed, and it'll have the name of your CRM, in this case Salesforce, and it'll say activity posting. It might have something after, but it's the same workflow. This workflow is shared by all users of FunnelFLARE. So it's a universal workflow. So if you're doing configuration in it, the idea is the communication between FunnelFLARE and the CRM should be similar for all users. It's important to note that this workflow by default is inactive. And why is it inactive? Well, it's a case that before you activate the workflow, it's important to understand what data is moving from FunnelFLARE to your CRM and when that data is moving. We are taking a very cautious approach to updating your CRM, and if you have any questions about the configuration you have in this section, please reach out to the support folks. We're happy to help. So really my recommendation is watch through this video. Once you understand the video, go look at this workflow in your CRM and activate it once you're confident that you know what it's going to do. And to get into this workflow, you browse to lead processing, activity posting, and click this pencil to open the workflow. So when you open this workflow, really what this workflow does is whenever a prospect does something that FunnelFLARE is tracking, this workflow will fire. And it's a series of decisions, and basically you find the decision that breaks off that specific activity, and you post something to the CRM with one of the CRM actions. And depending on the CRM you have, there's multiple actions that can be used. And with Salesforce, as you see, these are the actions that are available. And if you want to know what's available for your CRM, open the CRM posting, activity posting workflow, or you can go to our support portal, and there's a FunnelFLARE workflow reference that'll tell you about the specifics of workflow editing and specifically what actions are available for your CRM. So if you look at this here, for example, let's say you do an outbound call. Right, so you're using the dialer, you want to log this call in your CRM. So this workflow will fire when you make calls as well, or if you change contacts, this workflow will fire. So when you're making the call, basically this workflow fires. You see this decision, it says, is this a phone call? In other words, was the activity that triggered this workflow, was it a phone call? And if it was, it's going to go through this path. And what we're going to do here, we're going to wait for change and basically wait for the dial, because this is going to trigger as soon as the phone starts ringing. So we're going to wait for the call to complete. And if it is completed, and we do, let's say we're tracking transcripts, in other words, we're using the transcription service in FunnelFLARE, we'll wait for the transcript, and then if we get the transcript, we're going to go, in this case, post a call. So we're going to use the post to call workflow action. And in this case, we're going to use dynamic fields or merge fields to give the details of the call. And we're going to post it into Salesforce. And really, it depends on the CRM you have. Some CRMs don't have an explicit post call workflow action, but they'll have an activity workflow action or a task workflow action with a configuration that the type of activity or the type of task is a phone call, and you will post it as completed. And there's lots of other examples, like, for example, if you want to post a sales note. So in other words, in the Power Dialer, there's the option of creating a note on the contact. And when you post a note on the Power Dialer, it posts it onto the timeline of the prospect in FunnelFLARE, and it also fires this workflow. So when it fires this workflow, is sales note is triggered, and typically what we use when we post to the CRM, there's a special type of workflow action when we're posting to the CRM called a post to CRM. In other words, post to Salesforce, or post to Zoho, or post to Pipedrive. And if you look at the workflow reference guide, you'll see what's special about this type of workflow action is, one, that it posts a note, right? So when it's called, it'll post a note to the CRM. So unlike other workflow actions, like, for example, create an opportunity, post an event, and these again are Salesforce specific, they're different for your CRM, create a task, set a field, post a call, all of these workflows will just do what you ask them to do, in other words, what it says. The post to CRM workflow action does something else. So this workflow action, one, is it'll post a note, but two, is the only workflow action that will create a contact or create a lead, if you're thinking about Salesforce, for example. So Salesforce has leads and it has contacts as separate objects in the CRM. Fresh Sales, similar. Other CRMs like Pipedrive, there is no differentiation. But the post to CRM, or post to Salesforce, post to Pipedrive, post to Pipeline Deals workflow action is the only workflow action that will create a contact that does not exist, if it does not exist already in the CRM. If it does exist, it's going to update the existing one, but it is the only workflow action that will create objects, contact objects or lead objects. All of the rest of the actions assume that the contact that is associated with the workflow trigger, that the contact actually exists in the CRM. The post to the CRM is the one that creates. So when it creates a contact, there's also the added benefit of pushing field mapping data or field data from FunnelFLARE into the CRM. So if you go into your administration, account settings, click on the integrations tab, you will see a post to CRM field mappings table. And you see here, there's many of them because I've got several CRMs integrated, but the one for the Salesforce example is this one. And this is where you map the field data from FunnelFLARE into the CRM. So really, the idea here is that when you call the post to CRM workflow action, it'll, one, create the contact, or two, it will update it, the contact in the workflow. So it's a case that with that action, you can choose which fields in bulk that you can update or want to update in the CRM. So this is a really nice feature if you're doing a Power Dialer session and you've exposed a lot of custom fields and you just want to, whenever they change, go post to the CRM CRM and update those contacts and the metadata associated with those contacts, this is where you map the fields from FunnelFLARE into the CRM. So these along here are the FunnelFLARE field names, and these are the standard contact fields, the standard organization fields, and the standard custom, or I should say the custom fields. And in the drop downs, these are the fields of your CRM. So on contact fields, we do expose all of this other stuff, but really I recommend only mapping either contact and or lead, because it's the same for both. It'll map the contact data to the associated contact or lead table inside your CRM. We do expose the organization table, but again, I would reserve that for mapping your employer organization data in this column here. So the point is, going back here to the lead processing workflow, if you call this workflow action, whether it's in this lead processing workflow or in a campaign, this workflow action will create the contact, update or update the contact if it already exists, and the data in the integration section, that will be the data transferred to your CRM. So it's a very special object. Be careful how you use it, because really you want to be sure you understand what data is being posted to the CRM and when. So another scenario is that if you're in FunnelFLARE and you've made a change to the contact, or during a power dialer session, you change the contact, this workflow fires, that special type of change is a user change. So again, with this one, we go and post to the CRM to post the field mapping. And it's a case, this ensures that if you do make changes to the contact in a power dialer session or in the contact database manually, in other words, you browse to the contact and change it, this workflow fires and it'll go update the CRM with this workflow action. So that's really the deal. Is there's several actions here that you can, or decisions rather, that you can take and map workflow actions to. And like, for example, incoming mail, email, maybe I want to go set a custom field or a field in the CRM. Maybe I want to post a note. Maybe I want to schedule, or I should say, post a completed task. Now, in most CRMs, the one thing that they all have is a task object. And we've used this in the past to try to post completed tasks, like completed calls if there isn't a call object, or sent emails is another thing, or downloaded files. That's an activity that we could post on the timeline. And usually the universal action is a task object or something like that. So that's the main way of getting data into your CRM from FunnelFLARE, is through this activity posting workflow. Another way you can get data into the CRM is directly on any contact screen. You can post the data to the CRM by clicking this button. And if you click this button on the contact, that will bring up this table. And again, it's going to be different for your CRM. And this basically executes that post to CRM workflow action. In other words, it will create and or update contacts and or leads, and the field mapping in the account settings will be passed from this contact to the appropriate contact in your CRM. So that concludes this video. Again, take a look at the first video on getting data into FunnelFLARE. Hopefully with this video, you have some understanding of getting data from FunnelFLARE into your CRM.